Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. I thought today I'm going to be bulk recording a few things because I'm away in Belgium at the minute, so keep an eye out on the channel for when I come back. You will see some nice photo walks from Belgium in a few different locations, so I hope you enjoy that. But for today's video, it's been 3 months since I've had the Leica already and it's absolutely flown by, so I thought I'd spend today in the sun just talking about my thoughts on it a little bit further on from my initial impressions video that I made 3 months ago. It's going to be pros and cons because no camera's perfect, although for my style of photography the Leica is pretty much as close as you can get. I absolutely love the thing. So the TLDR of this whole thing is the Leica's an amazing camera for street photography, and it's proven to be one of the fan favourites, isn't it? It's so popular at the minute, even for the price tag. But for my views and my impressions, let's talk about it in a bit more detail. The first thing I want to talk about is the actual usability of the camera. Usability, I'm talking about button layout and stuff like that. It's really intuitive. The fact that you can customize most buttons to do what they can do, pretty much anything on the camera. I've customized some of the buttons, so I've still got my one button crop mode. I've got the video mode completely turned off, so I don't need to worry about that at all, and a few other things to adjust on the fly, all of my settings. So one button to change a load of different things. Back button autofocus is also set up as much as I can use it. I don't use it all the time, but it's there in case I need it. And yeah, it's really intuitive to have all the buttons programmable to how you really want it. A lot of cameras don't have that, but for the price point of the Leica Q3, it's good that it is something that is just able to be customized to you, because every photographer shoots differently. And then while we're on the usability, let's talk about the actual lens capabilities. The lens hasn't changed from the original Q all the way to the Q3. So that's saying something, right? It's a 28mm fixed lens, you cannot change it, and I don't think anyone's going to need to. That, with the 60 megapixel sensor of the Q3, is absolutely an incredible combination. You've basically got the sensor from the M11 and a 28mm Summilux lens for $5,000. And I'll get to cost more in a minute, but when you think about how much the cost of a Leica Summilux lens is on its own, and a Leica body, if you were to buy the M body and a 28mm lens, you're going to spend a lot more than $5,000 on it. It is a good entry camera to the Leica ecosystem, and the lens is really easy to use. I still haven't used the macro mode on the Leica lens, but I have manual focused with it. It is an absolute dream. I'm manual focusing more than I ever did, and the ability to just adjust things on the fly so quickly, because most of everything is on the lens, it's really intuitive to use. And even if you're taking shots from the hip and you've got everything dialed in, it doesn't miss a beat, and that's what I love. And then when you're using the crop mode, because it's a 28mm lens, if you're using a crop mode to say 50mm and you're shooting in RAW, you can still crop back all the way to 28, say if you've cut someone's head off, and if you're on the move and you've taken a shot while you're moving and you've cut someone's head off at 50mm, just zoom back out in post and you've got it all ready to go. It's also a super fast lens. It's 1.7, so night shots come out absolutely dreamy. You know, you don't need to raise your ISO. I don't think I've raised my ISO above 1600 since I've got the camera. It can easily handle 3200 and above. 6400 I think I used once, and you didn't really notice the grain at all. But because you can shoot at 1.7 and you're letting tons of light into the sensor, you don't need to go that high ever, really. And I keep my shutter speed at night shots at 125 of a second. There is no need to go any lower than that, because the lens is so capable and it allows so much light in being at 1.7. Night shots really come out nice, and I think that's just great for most people. You know, most people, especially if they're using it as an everyday camera, because it's small enough to be someone's everyday camera. They're not carrying around massive lenses in a backpack for it. It's really good that the camera can do it all. If you're taking it traveling like I do, if you're taking it out for a full day of work, then you know, no matter what the conditions are, whether it's bright sunshine, harsh shadows, or completely pitch black with just hints of neon light around at night time, then the camera's got you covered, and there's no real need to have anything else for my style of street photography. I will talk about a con with the lens is it's very front heavy. So whenever you've got the camera on a table or a flat surface, it dips down. But that's most cameras. Lenses are quite heavy in general. So just be aware of that. And if you don't want it to sit on the front of itself, then you're going to have to adjust the manual focus ring so the notch of the ring is at the bottom of the camera, and then the camera sits flush and it sits on that little notch rather than sitting on the lens itself. And because the notch is sort of a harder wearing material, you aren't going to scratch that as easy as you'll scratch the ring mount on the actual lens itself. So just a little tip for you, it is very front heavy, so just bear that in mind. And speaking of heavy, the camera isn't light for its size. It's 780 something grams. So that's about the same weight as my Fuji was before I bought the Leica. I thought because it's a fixed lens camera, it's not got as big of a lens and it's quite small in consideration, it's still quite heavy. So you do notice it, especially if you've got it round your neck all day. I choose to carry it on my wrist most of the time with my wrist strap from Peak Design. You notice that still, but it's not as bad as having it round your neck all the time. I know you do get neck fatigue when you're having cameras around your neck, especially if they're heavy. Now, there are far heavier cameras out there, don't get me wrong, but for the size of the camera and for this pocketable, not really pocketable, but you know what I mean, it's meant to rival the X100, there are far more lighter cameras than the Leica Q3. Another thing that's very worth talking about at this point in the video is the build quality. Leica are known for their German engineering, if you will, of their cameras. They're always really robust. They handle like an absolute workhorse, and I haven't had any problems with the camera at all, whether it be getting dinked up or it freezing on me. I haven't had any of that, and it's been 3 months of almost daily use. So it's very important to know that, you know, when you buy a Leica, you're not just buying it for the brand name, you're buying it because it's build quality. You're buying it for peace of mind that that camera is going to perform no matter the conditions you put it in. Now, I have seen things online of people's cameras freezing up and them getting like jagged lines on their screen when they turn on the camera, but it's not just typical to Leica. And I think people are saying for the Leica price points that you have, it should run absolutely flawlessly. And I work in technology as a 9 to 5, and I can tell you, no matter what technology you buy, you're always going to have the odd occasion that something freezes up or something doesn't work as it's intended to. And that's why you've got the warranty on the camera. That's why you've got the customer support of Leica to be like, you know, I want to RMA this product and you're going to send me a replacement or you're going to send me a refund. You have that, but every camera brand has it, you know, every technology brand has it. It's technology, something can go wrong. I'm just saying that from my experience, mine hasn't, and it has been put through its paces since I got it. The camera's also weather sealed. It's, you know, the original Q was not, this one is, and I'm so glad it is, because I don't feel that if the rain starts coming in, especially in London where the weather's so unpredictable, you can have sun like this 1 minute and it absolutely storming the next. I have never felt like I'm gonna have to, you know, put my camera in rice, as it will, because it doesn't work anymore under some rainy conditions. It's been really good in all the conditions that I've thrown at it. And yeah, it's good because I was considering older generations of Leica when I was buying the Q3, and the only reason I bought it was because of weather sealing and a few things that I'll get onto in a second. But no one needs 60 megapixel. You know, the Q2 is 40 odd, and that is more than enough for anyone's day-to-day use. 60 megapixels is great if you do want to crop in, but no one needs it. So people looking at the Q3 but don't want to spend the £5,300 or the $6,000 on the camera, looking at a second-hand Q2 that's in good nick will be just as good for people's everyday snaps. But there are a few reasons that I bought the Q3 over an older generation, and one of them is the good weather sealing, the improved autofocus. I've had a few shots where the autofocus has really kicked in last minute as I've been walking past a subject, like this one here, taken in one of my past videos, which I actually think is one of my favourite shots that I've taken with the camera. It captures essence, everything's in focus where I want it to be, Nothing's missed. I've never missed focus with the autofocus at all. It's always grabbed what I needed it to. And it's intelligent as well. So I'm really happy with the autofocus. It's never let me down yet. But as I've said earlier, I am using manual focus more and more and more. So the next step, M11? No, probably not. I'm very happy with the Q. So you got that, and you've got the tilt screen, and that was the deciding factor for me. I always use the tilt screen on no matter what camera. If it has a tilt screen, I'm going to use it. I'm not the tallest bloke. I'm 5'7". I am not the tallest guy in any crowd. So for me to be able to put my camera above my head but still see what I'm shooting by tilting the screen down at me is a lifesaver. And at the same time, if I want to go low but don't want to literally lay on the floor, I've got the tilt screen to assist me so I can see what I'm aiming at. Now I am getting better at judging where the camera is facing by shooting at the hip and not looking at the camera. But if I am composing a scene and I do want to see it in front of my eyes, then the tilt screen is a godsend. I do wish it was freeway articulating though, so I can flip it out and do all that sort of stuff. It would be nice, but it's not the end of the world. The two-way bidirectional tilt screen is fine for most people, fine for me, but it would be nice to have if it was flippy out and can rotate and all that stuff. Sony, for example, have great options like that. So let's talk about ergonomics. It is one of my major downsides to the Leica. It isn't ergonomic. It is a very flat camera out of the box, and the first thing that I did was bought a thumb grip for the camera, but not a Leica thumb grip because they are hundreds of pounds when you can buy a JJC one for 50. So I think, yeah, for those that, you know, want a camera that's just ergonomic, fixing the hands nice, there's no hand grip, there's no thumb rest other than a tiny little indentation in the back of the camera. It feels like it's going to slip out the hand, and that was purely a thing that I had in my mind from the moment I got the camera. In the first video that I made with the Leica, where we went down to the seafront and was talking about the camera and giving first impressions, you saw that I was very aware that I was holding it. I wasn't able to, you know, just hang it down from my wrist and stuff like that because I felt like it was going to slip out my hand. That's still the case if I didn't have the thumb grip. I bought the thumb grip, it goes in the hot shoe, and it works great. It makes the camera a lot more ergonomic as a whole. Still though, if you want to make the camera more ergonomic, you shouldn't be forced to buy accessories to go on the camera, especially with how expensive they are, for it to work. Now I still haven't bought a hand grip because I think a hand grip and a thumb rest is unnecessary, and I do like the thumb grip, but at the same time I shouldn't need to. When I'm paying for that price point, you'd think that it'd fit in the hand a bit better, it might have a little indentation at the front, or it comes with accessories that you can attach if you wanted to. Leica do sell them, third parties do sell them, so it's not the end of the world, but for the price point you'd expect a little bit more comfort out of the box from the camera. Everything on the lens though, perfectly ergonomic. You've got the clicks, the way you know what you're into, you know, it's not going to slip out of f5.6 and go to f7 or anything like that. It's not gonna miss a click, basically. The clicks are very defined on the lens, the focus ring is smooth as silk, and when you lock it into autofocus, it's not going to slip out of autofocus because it actually locks in and you've got a button to release it, so that's nice. But at the same time, with the actual camera body, it's not as easy to use straight out of the box, to have it just, you know, hanging from your hand or something. It does feel like you might drop it at times. It's also not great in terms of battery life. Now, everyone buys multiple batteries, and that's a given, but when your battery is £150, you shouldn't be expected to buy 2 or 3 to get you for a full day of shooting. I have one spare battery, and it does me for a full day no matter what, and it does charge via USB-C, which is the first of the Q series that does that, but it's still not great for battery life. You can get a good couple of 100 shots on a battery, that's great, but if you are like me and you shoot like crazy and shoot hundreds and hundreds of photos, you will just drain that battery quite quickly. And there has been times on days out when I'm abroad, for example, and I've got to go back to the hotel to charge it. I'm really grateful that I've got a spare battery to get me through the rest of the day. Otherwise it would have been a bit of a killer at times where I've missed shots because I don't want to turn the camera on to get the shot, because I don't want to waste that last bit of battery that I have. So like any camera, make sure you have a spare, but the spare batteries are expensive, just beware of that. And the batteries for the Q2 or the previous generation do fit in the Q3, but don't buy them. Buy the Q3 one because it gives you more power and stuff like that. I was able to get a free complimentary session with Leica to run through the camera when I bought it, and the customer service is absolutely incredible. Leica and Mayfair did an absolutely fantastic job, as they always do, to talk through the settings that you've got set up for your style of shooting, to compare it to what they recommend. They might tell you to use different solutions and stuff like that, and it's really recommended that you actually study the camera. Don't just think straight out of the box you'll use it how it's set up, because you can set up multiple profiles on the camera, you can set it up exactly how you want it, and it's recommended that you do take the time, sit about, go through all the settings and set it up how you feel comfortable using it. Take it out for a few test days of shooting, and if you find that settings work better for you on a YouTube video than Leica recommend in your complimentary session, then great. But at the same time, make sure you've got it set up where you're comfortable, and once you've got it set up, save it as a profile, because then if anything does get reset or everything changes because you want to try out new settings, you just go back to the profile and set it back to how you like it. That's another great thing about the camera. It's very intuitive to your settings, so you can set it all up, you can set up all the hotkeys necessary like I mentioned earlier, and then if you want to change it you can, and just go back to it via the profile. So it's worth doing to test out different things. The camera can do a lot, and I'm going to keep using it all the time. And I'll probably give you my 6-month review later down the line, or maybe a year review or a longer term review where I can talk about it more, because at this point in time, 3 months, you don't expect any problems, right? It's a brand new camera, you don't expect any problems 3 months in. So hopefully I can give you more of a combined mixed bag. If I don't hope for myself that I can give you more cons, but other than the cost and the, you know, the overall ergonomics, there's not much bad I can say about the camera. People think that its price is unjustified because it's a bit of kit and you can buy the same camera from Sony or Canon or anything like that for $2,000 less, but when you think about it, you can't really, and the price is justified. You can't buy a camera that has the same sensor as an M11 with as good of a lens as a Summilux for £5,000. Leica are an expensive brand, but the price is justified for what you get. They're not made in factories with mass-produced machines. They are made by hand. They are tested by hand. And you can really see that in the final result. And I'm so glad that I went Team Red. That's what I've got to say in this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any thoughts, or if you have a Leica Q, let me know your thoughts about it in the comment section. I'd love to hear it. If you are a Fuji or a Sony or a Canon fanboy and you hate the fact that I've got a Leica because I am a rich kid or something like that, then fine, let me know that as well. But I'd like constructive feedback, you know? It's always worth having a conversation. So thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.